Hi everybody, welcome to Private and Listed. This is the end of season 1 and it's episode 18. I want to spend some time reflecting on the lessons that I've learned from the 6 interviewees or the 6 discussions I've had with senior business leaders across Australia and Asia Pacific over this series. And I want to thank them. I hope you've got a lot of value out of them, but out of the episodes, and you certainly can go back and listen to each of them respectively. But Ed Huntingford, Andrew Walsh, Christiaan Hart, Dan Ahchow, Tim Collins and Bruno Arboit. Thank you all for coming onto the podcast and thank you for sharing your valuable experience and insights with me and with the listeners. Just to reflect on each of the episodes briefly, Ed Huntingford, wealth extraction, governance, profit, improvement, and the owner stepping back from daily operations. Build a business that creates wealth for you. And what I took out of this was that Ed says to the owners, step away from your business, get somebody to critique the business. Where has the income been generated? How is the income being spent? And how can that be improved going forward? And you can't do that until you step outside your business and speak to somebody with the expertise and track record of being able to change business mechanics to improve them. And so terrific content for our listeners. Andrew Walsh, moving from multinational leadership into independent spirits brands, investment and brand building. Andrew shared with us the disciplines of large company and entrepreneurial energy that can work together to build a clear proposition. Andrew's worked for Treasury Wine Estates, Accolade Wines, and he's now investing and helping to scale independent spirits brands, among other things. And that's gives business owners a lot of context on how to scale. Christiaan Hart, visual storytelling. Let's call it visual storytelling. But to me, the lesson that I've learned, and I hope the listeners learn, is you invest money in technology, in people, in machinery, in marketing. But your visual storytelling, whether it's a headshot, a business shot, or a short video, the more compelling that is, the better your message to market will be in terms of your customers and certainly potential transitioning and potential exiting when people look at your business. It's never a huge amount of money, but it needs to be done properly. And Christiaan says that very well in his episode. Dan Ahchow, software operational challenges. We talked a lot about the facilities management area, and this is to set up and scale in the traditional sector. But this is much bigger than facilities management. This is across many industries where business owners have contractors, hundreds of contractors. They're crossing states across Australia. They're crossing across various industries, education, healthcare, government sector, construction. This can be amplified and magnified anywhere. It's how do we as a business connect with our client in a timely manner? And using AI and Dan's created ecosystems, EACO systems, EACO. And what it does is it allows the client and the supplier to track immediately where, there's onboarding. Where's my contractors? Are they there on time? Have we fulfilled what we said we were going to do? And it's taken away an awful lot of manual time-consuming management, and it allows you to bolt on and diversify your business. But it's the expense versus the scalability. It's not an expensive exercise, but it allows you to scale infinitum. If you can have a look at your dashboard and go, okay, I know where my 300 contractors are. I know who's meant to sign off. I know who's joining. My HR systems are all set up in a process. This is absolutely transitional across multiple industries. Thank you again, Dan, for that episode. Tim Collins. Tim was discussed leading private and listed companies across Asia. That's taken a lot of work. He's been doing it for a long period of time. Things that resonated for me, and I hope they did for you, are cultural awareness, people, governance, M&A, and managing private versus listed companies. Very different. In listed companies, you've got in all companies you've got boards, but in listed companies it's visible. Your visibility is to everybody; they can read everything. In private companies, you still have the same things, but you're predominantly answerable to the owner and the major shareholders of the company. And in this, Tim gave a couple of interesting nuances or scenarios, which I thought were quite compelling. Is when you go into a room into one of your 6 or 7 countries that you're running, the businesses operate, and when you go in, everyone puts their shoulders up and tells a good story, or they want to present a good story. They want to keep their job. But Tim gave us an anecdote where he talks to or looks at the person serving the tea, in any of these countries. And the person serving the tea is often aware of what's been going on in the business while you've been out of there. And so he always spent time talking to them. And so you just go in and you get a more balanced perspective of what's going on. Because, as I said, everybody's been expecting you, and they want to present a good side of themselves to doing that. You've got to have the right teams in place. You must have the right teams in place because you're managing across borders, and the way that you market and sell things is different in every culture. Bruno Arboit. Bruno has had a career in restructuring and setting up businesses for, some of them in a state of disrepair, and he's an expert at this across Australia, Asia, and China. And one of the lessons that he clearly came through on this episode was the importance of documentation, valuation, and realism. Founder dependency, due diligence for cross-border exits. When you're doing cross-border exits, you need to be very clear on who you're working with and how they operate. But to bring it back to a broader focus, systems and processes, which I've said throughout the podcast, are important, and everyone in this that I'm talking about now agrees with that and has talked about that in their episodes. But documentation is really important. When somebody's looking to buy your business, they can hear your story. They can tell, you're going to tell a good story because you want to sell your business. They want to see the documentation of the HR, the legal, the clients, the suppliers, all sorts of things. And you can put that in when there's a sale process. That's all centralized, as we've said before. But the importance of that and a realistic valuation, and each potential acquirer will have a different valuation methodology, and you'll have something in your mind, but you need to discuss that. And I think the lessons that I've learned from these 6 people are: real valuation is created before an exit. Businesses must work without the owner at the centre of everything. Scale needs systems, but growth needs a story. People and culture determine what works, and fundamental. And preparation gives owners options at the end. And so I've come down to, out of these 6 valuable discussions, and summing up, I've tried to put together a 10-point checklist that I think is good for business owners that are transitioning or looking to sell or exit. And just from feedback from these 6 people, be clear on the owner's personal and financial objectives. Know what the business is genuinely worth and why. Reduce reliance on the founder. Keep financial information clean, current, and explainable. Document key customer, supplier, and employee arrangements. Protect intellectual property, data, contracts, and licenses. Build a credible second layer of management. Understand customer concentration and other risks. Start family, shareholder, and succession conversations early. Allow time, ideally years, not weeks, to prepare properly. For me, these resonate across everything I try to do on this podcast, and that is to help owners consider what they should do in a transition. or a sale, because it will all come up. You will be asked hundreds of questions. And my premise for getting these 6 people on, plus my own solo episodes, is to be able to extract that information and present that to people who are considering selling their business. I've spoken to operators, I've spoken to business owners, I've spoken to advisors, all different increments into what is setting up. But a couple of those themes, or most of those themes, are really important. Again, I'm grateful for everybody listening. I'm thankful to Ed, Andrew, Christiaan, Dan, Tim, Bruno for contributing their time and their experience and expertise to the podcast to help listeners. I've taken a lot away from it, and I hope that you have too. And I'll continue on this going forward. My major theme is how to deal with mergers and acquisitions across specific industries and what you need to do it effectively. That's from a sell side and a buy side. And there's a secondary theme, which was if you're transitioning your business across multiple markets and in particular Asia. But thank you for listening. If you've got any questions, you can get me on heyjamie@privatelisted.com. And you can go back and listen to any of those episodes with the topics that I've discussed in this episode, and you'll see from each of the 6 that they've got valuable insights to contribute. So thank you again.